Take a look at our first look at this, our inspection. Kyle, what pops off the page to you when you start clicking around on this game?
Well, we have 4 great games, okay? I don't know if Texans-Ravens will be remembered. I don't know if Packers-Niners will ever be looked back on. Whatever happens in Chiefs-Bills will always be remembered and studied and educated for young people. It's the history. It's the history that we started the show with. It's the history we're going to talk about all week. This is an important franchise, and I mean that as a franchise as a movie franchise. Chiefs-Bills, Mahomes versus Allen. I was asked yesterday, is this the new Brady versus Manning? And maybe it's close to it. Now, there's some other people. There's Burrow, and then there's Lamar waiting. But Josh Allen will be asked about this game for the rest of his life, whether he wins it, whether he loses it. Patrick Mahomes. Here's the thing about this division, about this rivalry. We just saw it. They're 3-3, right? There's a whole big asterisk on it. They're like, okay, the Bills get them in the regular season.
Yeah.
They're 3-1. And it's every time they beat the Chiefs in the regular season, it's always like, we'll see you at the end of the year. And that's great. You can have your little victory. You can do it here. You can do it there. We'll see you at the end of the year. And I just feel like this is a massive, massive deal for Allen, for the Bills, because if the Chiefs get this one again, and now it's like, not only did we get you again, we went to your cute little Western New York location and all your snow and all your tables and all your wings, and we beat you again.
This one?
I mean, this is the one. This is 13 seconds. This is overtime. Listen, they lost in the title game to the Chiefs. This isn't even that one. This is before that. And it was Diggs and the confetti. And years ago, when Josh Allen felt like a different person, I asked him, I'm like, how much do you think about that title game loss? This was in the offseason. And he didn't even bat an eye. He said, every single day I think about it. Every day. He's a little more guarded with the media now. I think he's a little more candid then. This is the game I'm talking about. They were going to go to the Super Bowl. It was going to be the Bills in the damn Super Bowl like it's back in 1991. They lost. They haven't been back there since. I just think it's these two teams, these two players are inexorably linked. They always will be. Josh Allen, for the rest of his life, will be asked about Mahomes questions. He still gets constantly asked about Chiefs questions, lost in the playoffs questions. You got to have this one. You got to have it. And I know there's things with their defense and they're banged up and this and that. This is probably the most vulnerable Chiefs team that they've faced in this generation, probably. You got to have this one. You're at home. It's the history, it's the present, it's the future. It's not the last time we're going to do it, but it's one of the most important times if you're Buffalo.
Got to have this one at home if you're Buffalo. And to your point, I look at the journey, and not going all the way back, but the journey of the Buffalo Bills of this season. And I go back to when these two teams matched up. That was in Week 14. And I remember going into that game, Shrek sitting right in his seat, said that the Buffalo Bills had a 14% chance to make the playoffs. And at that time, we're like, the Buffalo Bills are damaged. Like, they don't look like the same team. They have so much going on. The head coaches in the media saying things. There's dive pieces being written about him, and they're saying he needs to get out of there as a head coach. From this point on, when the Buffalo Bills won this football game, they have not lost since. 6 straight games. This started their playoffs because at this point, if they lost a game, it was going to continue to dip to we were going to be in single digits of a Buffalo Bills team making the playoffs. From this point on, not only did they make the playoffs, they won their division, they became the number 2 seed, and now they are hosting in the divisional round against the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that you just talked about of the story of those two quarterbacks going against each other. What I look at is in that matchup, it was a whole lot of Josh Allen and James Cook. Going into this game, are we going to see the same? There's a proud Kansas City Chiefs defense, and yes, it was a close game, and there are a lot of things that happened, but it was so fun watching James Cook just blow up, and it was catching the ball, it was running the ball, and I want to see what that looks like, because for the Kansas City Chiefs, there was no Isaiah Pacheco in that game. They didn't have their lead dog and their running back. So I look at the journey of both of these teams because neither one of them were at the very top of what we have become accustomed to seeing them over the last few years. But that game started the journey for the Buffalo Bills to get to where they are this week and in the divisional.
It was the playoffs for that team that day, and they have been rattling off victories every single week, and their reward is this game finally being at home. I swear, the first thing I think of is if Tony's not offsides, this game's an Arrowhead.
Kadarius Toney.
Tony's not offsides. Show us the play. This was the game, guys. Mahomes goes back to pass, finds Kelsey. Kelsey, in one of the greatest improvisational plays we've ever seen by an NFL player, laterals it to Kadarius Toney for what was the game-winning touchdown.
That was it.
This was hysterics. And then the call, and guess what? Tony was offsides. He was offsides. By letter of the law, he was offsides. If you do the math, how this all works out, if the Chiefs win this game and the Bills lose this game is going back to Arrowhead. Arrowhead is hosting the divisional round, and who knows, maybe the path to the entire playoffs goes through the AFC if C.J. Stroud takes care of the Ravens this week instead of it going through Buffalo. Mahomes furious that day, was super vocal, and first time we'd really seen Mahomes angry at the refs. Andy Reid was angry at the refs. The Chiefs have used this moment also to kind of galvanize around themselves and say, this is not the year that everyone's crowning us. This is not the year that it's going to be given to us. What do we do? I thought the Chiefs on Saturday night just dominated the Dolphins. Dominated. They came into their building and said, all right, this is the A-League. You're not in the A-League yet. Let's discard you. I think everyone that's kind of siding with the Bills right now, saying that this is the hot team. They've got the momentum. Remember, that one play would have swayed this entire narrative, and this game could have been an Arrowhead. They go to Buffalo, where we'll mention throughout this week, they have not had a road playoff game with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback, other than the Super Bowl, which was a road game because it was against Tampa in their building during a COVID year where people couldn't flock down to the stadium. It was mostly locals from Tampa. So we'll see how they travel. They're the champions. They've done it. They've been through everything. But I can't stop but think of what could have been had Kadarius Toney not lined up offsides.
This generation of quarterbacks, we see it with social media and 7-on-7 football when they're growing up. Like, they know each other earlier in life. They become friendlier. It's a lot less like innate hatred when you get to the NFL because they've been buddies since they were 12, 13 years old. You're just curious about the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning comparison because, like, how long did we have to wait before we felt like we were solidified that was a thing that we were watching in action? Do you guys have a working memory of the first time, like, I was gifted the Manning-Peyton rivalry, or the Manning-Brady rivalry?
I think Peter, I think it was the Colts in the snow in Foxborough in the game that changed the rules of defensive football when you couldn't hold receivers anymore. And that Colts team was unbelievable, unstoppable, and they just got completely mugged and lost. And the Mahomes, Allen, Manning, Brady comparison is like Brady dominated it for a long time, like Mahomes was dominating in the postseason, and then finally Peyton got to the Super Bowl, and then he got one at the end. But it wasn't this crazy back and forth where it was Brady, Brady, Brady in the playoffs, and it's kind of been that way. It's been 2 only in the playoffs, but you have to flip the switch. Otherwise, it's like, God, I've lost this guy 3 times in the playoffs. It's a big deal.
If I'm not mistaken, Brady's first ever start in the NFL was a blowout win over Peyton Manning, and that was when they were real young. But the historian in me goes where Kyle goes, where they would get to the playoffs, and it was the Colts had all these records and all these numbers. And sure enough, it would be Brady, and it would be the defense putting the clamps on Peyton Manning. But to your point, they go to Lucas Oil, or what at the time was the RCA Dome, or whatever it was called. They're down 2 touchdowns at halftime, and then the Colts find a way to win at the end. And it's Dan Klecko, and it's those guys finding a way, and then Marlon Jackson has the interception at the end. So it took a while. It took till 2005 for Peyton to finally get that one over Brady after starting in '98. It's taken a while for Josh Allen to beat Mahomes in the playoffs, and I think this is an opportunity